So I would also like to take this opportunity to explain the difference between advice and solution. Okay, some clients don't want a solution, they just want advice. Okay, what is advice? Well, advice is not specific usually. It's more character centric, right? So they're interested in knowing their personality, what are things that they do that are a problem, why are they having certain types of very specific, frequent challenges of a certain nature, right? Okay, so the classic example of broad advice is clients with wealth structure who cannot save money, right? Okay, the advice is the same every time, all right? If I see a client, they have a wealth structure, or they have a wealth problem, or they have a wealth issue, my first advice is always the same. How many credit cards do you have? More than one? Cut the rest. Now you might think it's ridiculous that they're paying me for that money. I mean, they're paying me for that advice, right? But that's just, the reality is that is the common sense answer for them, right? They don't need an exact solution. They need broad, overarching advice. And the overarching advice is, you have difficulty saving money, you need to understand how to solve this problem for the next, I don't know how many years you exist on this planet. Okay, now a solution implies a very specific problem, okay, which means the client has a very specific question that, as I said, you either need a binary answer, yes or no, or there's a menu of options. Okay, so it is very important to understand who wants what. Okay, advice is what bored people usually want. Okay, if you are doling it out for free, that's why they're taking it. Solution is what the desperate are interested in. Okay, I always prefer slightly desperate clients. Slightly desperate clients will actually do the work. Okay, curious clients will solicit multiple opinions. Okay, so the first thing I do when I look at a client, I look at the chart, and I have a resource structure person or heavy resource, okay, or heavy output even sometimes, right? Excess output, right? Okay, I already know it's uphill battle. So the first thing you do is shorten the consultation. Don't talk so long, because the more you talk, the more it goes in circles, right? The direct person will keep asking for more and more options. The hurting officer person will take offense with one option you present, and you'll argue about it for the next half an hour. Okay, so you need to actually be quite judicious and look at the client and offer the advice or the solution based on what they actually want, right? That takes time to sort through that, right? Sometimes we can spend 45 minutes just trying to understand what their problem is, because they can't figure it out what exactly it is that's bothering them. Okay, so I think the first thing to understand is that, are you giving advice or are you giving a solution? All right, advice, no need to crack head so much. Solution requires more effort. All right, now designing a solution is a struggle for most students, because basically they can't explain to the client how to use that star in a day-to-day basis. Okay, so they go, oh, hurting officer, I have $1 for every time a student told me, they must be rebellious, they must be creative, they must be opinionated. I get it. These are indeed qualities associated with the output star. However, if you are somebody who works in a government department, being opinionated is the #1 method of getting yourself fired. If you are in a conservative organization that values hierarchy, such as a Japanese organization, spitting it on the table is going to guarantee to get you fired as well. So are you going to then tell this client, oh, you must just tell your boss to his face? What is the solution? That is failing to take into account context, right? Okay, so that is why most students fail with giving a solution, because basically they can tell the client, in your exact situation, given your circumstances, your action should be this. Okay, now another example is somebody wants to use a solution or an element to deal with a person, okay, usually a boss or staff or wife, mother-in-law, you know, sibling, whatever, some annoying person who's annoying in your life, right? Okay. How do you use your knowledge of BaZi to make the process easier, right? So if somebody says, oh, okay, you know, they are kill matter, you must direct officer them. What does it mean? How do you tell them how to behave, how to talk to this person? That is the kind of advice that you're supposed to be giving. You need to give them very exact answers, right down to almost how you would say the, you know, how you would issue the instruction, if you like. Okay, that's how you give clients examples and solutions that work, all right, by contextualizing it to the situation that they're in. All right, now let's talk about the next topic. Okay, so what is the solution? It is any one of these four things usually. What should I do? How do I make this go away? How can I fix this problem? When will this problem go away? Okay, now obviously four very clearly is a luck pillar / timing related solution, right? So solution, generally speaking, will not consider timing, but it may. Okay, so it depends on whether the client is clever enough to ask this question: when will this problem go away? Most of them will not be clever enough to ask this question. Okay, so you need to remember, when will this problem go away is something that you must offer as part of the solution. All right. Now, source is solution is something which a lot of people, again, also don't realize, right? So they go, yeah, I can figure out the diagnosis, but I don't know how to come up with a solution. But actually, it's the same process. It's just acting in reverse, okay? So if you can identify the problem, you can identify the solution, but now you need to take that one extra step and explain what that answer means in human speak, okay? So most people, not necessarily consultants, right? Okay, know the technical answers. Most of you guys know the technical answers. Eventually, you guys get there. When I ask a question and it's specific enough, you guys will know how to come up with the answer, the technical answer. So the challenge is you need to express the solution in a way that the client can understand, aka human speak. But you must also explain the solution within the context of their world based on options that are actually viable in their universe. Okay, for example, a few months ago, I had a case that somebody said, this husband and wife are having a problem. What can we do? Now, the source of the problem is the woman's resource star. So first question I ask is, does the mother live with you? Now, this is counterintuitive to what most people think. Most people will think, first thing out the gate, they will have to say is, the problem is resource. So you must deal with the resource. She think too much. No. First question you ask is, who lives in the house? Who is the person? Okay? Who else is in that house, that place, that structure? That could be the problem, because people are harder to get rid of. Now, obviously, when I said it is tough, your mother-in-law out of the house, that became very, very difficult. But actually, that was the problem. The mother-in-law lived in the house, and turfing her out was extremely difficult. Okay? So again, you got to think, if I give them this solution, can they do it? Mother-in-law in this particular case was also nanny. So hence, getting rid of mother-in-law means no childcare solution. So you can see why this person is reluctant to do it. Okay? So again, you need to ask that extra question. You would say, does your mother-in-law live with you? Yes. What does your mother-in-law do for you? Takes care of my children. We have no maid. You know that solution is dead in the water. Don't talk about it anymore. Okay? I mean, you can come up with a creative solution. You know, one of my most creative solutions was to say, rent the house next door. Put your mother-in-law in the house next door, or the house 5 doors away, right? Okay, that's if you've gone round and round the block and there's no other solution, and the only solution is to get rid of the mother-in-law, right? Okay, but what I'm saying is, don't be afraid to ask a question to the person to clarify whether or not your option is viable. Okay, now, reasons why people get stuck when it comes to the solution. Okay, first of all, focus on interactions as opposed to risk management. Okay, now what is the difference? Okay, reacting to the interaction means, oh my God, there's a clash. We have to do something about it. You cannot do anything about it. It is there. It is in the year. It is coming. Okay. Interactions are about risk management. Okay. Okay. A clash is coming. What stars are affected? Okay. Make sure you are ready. It can just be as simple as emotionally be ready. Okay. It can go one further step in which you take proactive actions in which to solve the problem. For example, if you have a wealth year coming and you know you're going to lose money, okay, first thing you do is spend it in advance on something. Now, people will say like, oh, what does that mean? And invariably I will say, do you have a mortgage? Most people have a mortgage. So I say, okay, pay more onto the mortgage. The universe doesn't care where the money goes. It just cares that the money has to go, right? So it has no interest in what you are spending it on. It is only interested in saying this money must go out the door. Okay, so being creative with, kind of thinking around the problem, right? Okay, again, risk management as opposed to reaction. Okay, now the second problem is obviously a shallow knowledge of the 10 gods and a poor understanding of character, right? Okay, so the ability to extrapolate how a person is going to behave and why they behave that way is crucial to figuring out whether the solution is achievable by them or not. Point number 5. Okay. The other problem I find most people have, and this is very, very common with what I call a casual readers as opposed to people in the corporate world, is basically most people don't understand what other people do. They don't understand the process of another person's life in their workplace. They don't understand how that workplace functions. They don't understand how people in that industry make money, for example, right? Okay, so if you don't have a good appreciation of somebody else's world and somebody else's universe, you will find it very difficult to give them advice because you don't know anything at all. You're like just blindly shooting solutions, okay? Failing to ask questions, to consider parameters of options or ask for options, that's already been discussed extensively, right? Okay. And of course, I think the whole point I'm going to bang on later is the need to produce an achievable solution, okay? In other words, you cannot tell this person to do something that is not doable by them, okay? And how do you decide if something is doable by them? Go back to character, okay? So, very important to understand that the limit of the solution is the limit of the person, which is the limit of the chart, okay? So, when you are doing your problem solving, you have to keep that at the back of your head, right? Okay, that sometimes you will not be able to give them the best solution. You have to give them the solution they can do. And so they may only partly solve their problem, okay? Now, the other challenge, of course, is they can do the solution, the time is not right, okay? For whatever reasons, it's the wrong luck pillar. If they do the problem, if they do the solution, the problem might come back again, right? Okay, or if they do the solution half-baked, then the problem doesn't really go away, right? Okay, so a lot of times you're juggling many balls when you're doing solution solving, right? Okay, and this is something which students kind of like don't realize. In the process of giving a solution to a client, it's not a linear exercise. It's not like they sit down in front of you and it's a doctor's exercise, right? They go, oh, I have a cough. Okay, here's some pastilles and lozenges. My nose is running. Okay, here's some antihistamines. I have some body aches. Okay, here's some paracetamol, right? It doesn't work that way. It is a dynamic exercise in which you pose questions to the client or the person and say, okay, is this viable? Do you have this person? Is this something you can consider? And then they might come back with you and say, well, I can sort of do A, but B, it's a little bit difficult. I need to go see this person. So another thing that I like to do a lot is I use the animals, right? So for example, somebody says, I have this problem. And I look in the chart and I decide, for whatever reasons, rabbit is the answer. So I will say to this person, who do you know who is born in the year of the rabbit. Now, you're not telling them, go see your boss, go see this person. You're saying, is there this thing, this rabbit, person born in the year of rabbit, person born in the month of March, okay, who can help you with this problem, right? Okay, that's one of the ways also in which you can think about solutions, but it's giving the person a very strange answer because you're saying, go and investigate your entire office and find this rabbit, okay? So you have to be willing to think a little bit out of the box, okay? But also it's a dynamic experience of solving the problem, okay?